Game-changing penalty kicks awarded, video review that happens sometimes, but not always, and Zlatan trying to kick someone in the chest, which you know how that makes me feel. Most importantly, we've got a new face today. Andrew Weeby's out of town. I'm joined by Matt Doyle.
Yeah, after nearly a decade at MLSsoccer.com, this is my instant replay debut, so I expect you all to be very kind to me.
Let's get into it. We started the Cali Classico and we moved to the 69th minute. The score is 3-2 Galaxy, and here we see Danny Houston tries to bring down the ball, but Doyle, Michael Ciani brings him down, and if you look closely, you can see Ciani pulls on the back shoulder. Referee Jose Carlos Rivero points to the spot without a second thought.
You don't even have to look that closely, Bobby. You just look. You just look. This is a rugby tackle. It is a penalty. I don't think this is controversial at all.
But Doyle, we've got to bring Zlatan into it. In the 90th minute, there's a loose ball, and what is Zlatan doing here? Why does he raise his boots so high? This could have been dangerous.
It could have, but it actually wasn't because he came nowhere near hitting him with that boot. He was just trying to prevent a long ball into the mixer, so to speak. It's a yellow card. It's fine.
I've given my rant on boots up at the chest enough. I don't want to argue with Zlatan. I don't want to argue with Doyle. For me, I would have liked to see more action, but I'm okay with the yellow card as well. Let's move to Cascadia now from one derby match to the next. Score is 3-2 at this moment. The Timbers are leading. Once again, we have a big star kicking out. Clint Dempsey goes for the ball on the sidelines, and what is he doing again? He's not going to get that ball. He's clearly angry. He kicks Julio Cascadia in the chest. Referee Ismail Ilfath comes over, calls the foul right away, gives the yellow card. My question to you, Matt Doyle, should it have been more?
I think it could have been either. I was okay with the yellow, but you could have made it red as well, especially because Dempsey has a history of this kind of behavior. And look, he's nowhere near making contact with the ball, but he definitely makes contact with the chest. I know Bobby's on his crusade to get this as a red card every single time, and I'm kind of okay with that.
For me, it was serious foul play, and it should have been a red card. Moving east, let's head to Chicago. The score is 1-0 Fire when Jonathan Campbell takes down Maxi Morales in the box. Now there's no call, and referee Chris Penso does go to his ear to talk to VAR Caleb Mendez. But, Matt, they don't come back and give the penalty. But for me, it seems that Jonathan Campbell clearly made contact with Morales.
And so Campbell comes in, and it's not clear actually whether he makes contact with Morales or if Morales dives and makes contact with Campbell. I wish we had a better angle of it. I wish we had a close-up of it. As it stands, I don't think it's clear and obvious that this should actually be a penalty.
That is entirely too reasoned, Matt. This will be your last show on Instant Replay, but I see where you're coming from. I saw contact. I'm okay if you thought it was soft. Moving on to the next one, we move to the 42nd minute. A similar play, actually, Matt. Joe Burgett tries to get on the end of the ball. At this point, NYC is up 2-1. We remember, Chicago ends up winning 3-2, so this turned out to be a big play. Burgett gets a touch on the ball, and Jorge Corrales takes him down. There's no foul called by referee Chris Penso. There's no video review, and there isn't even really replay. But Matt, it looks to me like Corrales clipped Burgett and it should have been a penalty.
Yeah, it does look like he clipped his heels, and it could have been a penalty. Again, I wish we had a better view of this. I think we need a close-up to really say it's clear and obvious that the no call should have been overturned. But you have to feel a little bit hard done by if you're NYCFC here.
Doyle comes on the show for 1 week, and he brings the Britishisms hard done by might. Moving on to New England, where the Revs ended up winning 3-2, but there were a couple penalties in the game, and the first one is in the 72nd minute. Claude Bielna fouls Darren Maddox in the box. At this point, the Revs are up 2-1. A PK is called right away, and there is no video review. Doyle, do you think referee Alan Chapman got this call right?
100% correct. There was no need for review on this one. It's a clear penalty.
I'm with you on that one. But Matt, the more controversial one came in the 77th minute. The score is tied 2-2 at this point. Andrew Farrell gets around O'Neal Fisher. Fisher falls over and rolls into Farrell. That causes Farrell to also fall over. Referee Alan Chapman points to the spot and gives the penalty kick right away. No video review. The PK is made for the Revs to go up 3-2, which they eventually win by. I'm okay with this penalty call, but it also looks like Andrew Farrell might have pulled down Fisher to begin with.
I think if it's more controversial, it's like 2% more controversial. This is a clear case of obstruction right here. Fisher loses his balance, rolls into Farrell. It's a penalty. The call's a call.
But Farrell didn't go hands to neck and pull Fisher down first?
They were both tussling with each other. I mean, nothing about this is clear enough to say, oh, it should be overturned. It's not actually a penalty. This is obstruction. This is obstruction.
For me, it's a good call as well, but I would be angry if I was a DC United player or fan. Let's stick on the concept of potential hands to face and move out to Vancouver. In the 32nd minute, the score is 0-0. Alphonso Davies runs by Edgar Castillo, but wait, he gets taken down. Castillo puts an elbow or a forearm into Alphonso Davies' face. Foul is called by referee Nima Sagafi. He goes to the ear and he ends up giving a yellow card, not a red card. Doyle, should he have been sent off?
I don't think so. He got his arm up, definitely, and we've seen a red card given for that in the past, but to me, this is not malicious. It's not even really reckless. It's just a little bit of rubbing his racing type of situation, and I think a yellow card is fine right here.
I'm with you. For me, it's a yellow card. We talk about these plays a lot where a hand does touch the face. We talked about Yannick Boley a few weeks ago, and I said he just meant to hold the player off, and his elbow accidentally raised up. Same thing for me here. Edgar Castillo is not trying to get Alphonso Davies up at the head. He's simply trying to get an arm into the body, and it accidentally hits the head. For me, this is reckless, but not excessive, and just a yellow card. Let's stay up north and move to Minnesota. FC Dallas beat Minnesota United 1-0, but in the 84th minute, Minnesota had a claim to a penalty. The ball comes across, and Matt Hedges puts his body down, puts his arm down, and the ball appears to make contact with the arm. The score is 1-0 Dallas at this point. Referee Baldomero Toledo does not call a penalty. Doyle, what say you?
If this isn't a handball, then what is a handball? Like, this is the definition of what should be called a handball. I think it's a failure on Toledo's part to not see it in real time, and it's a failure of video review not to pick that up and actually give the penalty. I think Minnesota United have a legit gripe right here.
In VAR, John Freeman does get in Toledo's ear. They do talk for a second, but they don't go to video review. Play continues. Dallas wins 1-0. So Matt, you just called out VAR John Freeman. Well, he had another game this weekend. On Sunday, he was in the booth for Toronto Red Bulls up in Canada. And it mattered, because when the Red Bulls were up 1-0 in the 74th minute, Tim Parker had an apparent handball in the box. At first, it wasn't called on the field by referee Chico Grajado, but Freeman, from the booth, told Grajado to look at it again. After video review, it was awarded a penalty. Now, yes, Jovinko missed it, but putting that aside, was it the right call by Freeman and Grajado?
I can't put that aside because you started this whole segment with "and it mattered." And if you let Sebastian Jovinko take the penalties that you're awarded, it actually doesn't matter because he is the worst penalty taker in MLS history. But yet, John Freeman got this call right. Parker's trying to break his fall, and he intentionally puts his hand on the ball as he's falling. It's a handball. I mean, it's bum luck for him, but it's a handball.
I'm with you. For me, a handball. Good call by Freeman and Grajado on that one. All right, Doyle, lots were green today, but I think I found one we're going to differ on. We stick in Canada and move over to Montreal. The Impact took on Sporting Kansas City, and the first major call came in the 5th minute when Daniel Shallowy is pushed down in the box. Referee Ted Uncle does not make a call. The play goes on, but you think this should have been a penalty?
Yeah, because Rudy Camacho is not playing the ball here. He's just obstructing Daniel Shallowy, who has Camacho backpedaling a little bit and who's about to play the ball past him and get a shot off. Camacho literally puts his hands into Shallowy's chest and stops his forward momentum. That's obstruction. That should have been a penalty.
And the score was 0-0 at this point. A penalty could have changed the game because the Impact ended up winning 2-0. Now, Doyle, from the referee or fan standpoint, I understand why you think it could have been a penalty. As a defender, I think that there's some spectrum that you're allowed to use your hands and you're allowed to make contact.
No, you're allowed to use your body. You're not allowed to put your hands directly into a guy's chest.
I see what you're saying, but I still think that there's some leeway that you're allowed to make contact with the arms like that.
Again, if you're trying to play the ball, Camacho makes no attempt at all to play the ball. He's getting skinned, and he's only playing the man in order to save his rear end. And he does because the ref and the VAR let him off the hook.
All right, I'm okay with that. You say penalty. For me, it was the right no call. But now let's move to the 68th minute. Montreal's up 1-0 at this point, and Iko Parra clips down Daniel Lovitz in the box. The PK is called, there is no video review on it, the PK is converted, and Montreal extends their lead. When I see this, I see that Parra clearly makes contact with Daniel Lovitz's right foot. I'd guess it probably wasn't enough to bring Lovitz down, and Lovitz did exaggerate, but at the same time, when you're watching this, you can see clear contact, and I don't know how a referee could tell if the contact was firm enough, so therefore I'm okay with the call. For me, it was a penalty. Last one, and we go to Columbus. The Crew beat RSL 2-1, but the first goal came on a penalty kick. There's a tussle in the box. Luis Argudo is taken down on the penalty by Daniel Costa, and referee Drew Fisher does not hesitate to point to the spot. But when I look at this, I'm actually not sure that Daniel Costa does take down Argudo, and it wasn't just that Argudo tripped over his teammate's leg.
It looks like the type of scrum that happens on literally every corner kick in literally every professional soccer game that's ever been played. I don't see, from the angles we have, I don't see anything here that tells me this should have been whistled as a penalty. But again, we don't have the best angles with this one.
Now I have to ask you, just because it happens every game, does it mean it shouldn't be called? Because one of the points of emphasis this year was making sure that we limit the contact in the box on set pieces like this.
Well, that's a philosophical question there, Bobby. I'm not willing to dig too deep into that, but I will say that when I saw this play, I kind of shrugged and said, that doesn't look like a penalty to me.
And as they say, the call is the call. But honestly, as I hear Doyle yell every week when we watch games together, it doesn't matter. The call is the call. So thank you for coming on this week.
It was a pleasure to be here, everyone. It was a pleasure. Thank you for hosting me, Bobby, and thank you, Weeby, for giving up your spot for a week. And I have to tell you, I've always wanted to do this. See you next time!
Sorry, guys.